Oracle of the Forgotten. Introduction to the Realms. The Light Realm. Virtues and the Rings of Light. Before really discussing the Light Realm, it might be better to explain a few things. There are similarities between certain religions and their stories of the angelic and demonic realms. We generally call them the light and dark realms because angels and demons are far from the only creatures living here. Angels and demons are actually a single race that was ideologically split ages ago. The realms of the Council's reign are divided into three parts: the light, the dark, and the Silverlands, which is sometimes also called the Shadowlands, and resides between the two. While the void technically exists, it's also believed not to exist and stays well outside of the control of the Council of Ancients. Each entity inside the Council's realms has an incarnation similar to the ones on this world we are living in now. They are energetically slightly out of alignment with our universe, but we can discuss that at another time. Let's go back to the light realms now. There are religions on this current human world that sometimes call it heaven. Similarly, it is ruled by what translates loosely to the virtues. The virtues do answer to a higher lord that they call the king. These virtues are usually either seraphic or angelic lords who've earned the title based on their ability to either command, enact, or embody the virtues that they represent. Contrary to a lot of beliefs, most of the light realms are a bit like this earth. Varied landscapes with fertile and dry land, mining, industry, nearly anything a person could want to do to be productive. These are beautiful landscapes, some with stars that still show even in the light of day. The streets are often paved in various gems, metals, precious and sparkling stones. Many of the buildings are the same, well-lit, airy, breathing. The temperatures vary by region, but most claim it is exactly what they wanted. Each of the realms of the light holds an ornate tower on one end. The tower is either in or near a circle that surrounds the nearby city, where the people within are protected and watched over by the resident Lord of Virtue. The towers are often also ornate stone and crystal, beautiful architecture that reaches to the skies as a testament to the abilities of the people of their land. Handmade carvings from the people serving those realms are displayed proudly in the halls and cities. The towers themselves shine above the rest of their realm. The main halls always hold a path to the other realms, portals that can either be left open or, if necessary, closed, to keep the land safer for those residing there. While mostly not spoken of, each of the towers holds its own stellarium gate. The gates are usually circular, covered in runes and symbols. They are in tiled patterns on the floor and can be opened at the will of the lords presiding over their lands. On the surface, the land and people are idyllic and happy. Like many things in the realms, it isn't always what it seems. The people are surrounded by familiar and similar energies and people. They are allowed to work in areas that truly make them happy. Those who do not match an area are sent back to either the gateways, a waiting place, or sometimes directly to the regions that match them best. There are 9 complete realms within the Lands of the Light: the 7 Rings of the Light, the Gateway, and the High Kingdom, which is often just called the Kingdom. Each realm holds a level of decor and tradition that seems to reflect the values of its virtue. To make identifying these realms easier, in order of distance from the gateway, they are diligence, kindness, which is sometimes referred to as love, patience, temperance, devotion, which sometimes is referred to as chastity, charity, which is sometimes called service, and humility. Modern religion replaces devotion with chastity, but there was no sin behind sexuality. The only sin in relation to it was an imbalance outside of or within a proper relationship. I am not going to define a relationship, but it's not necessarily monogamous. The lands of the High Kingdom sparkle. Ornately dressed beings with wings and halos of energy often wander the realms. Many have high positions within the councils and tend to be more arrogant than expected. They are often visited by the Lord of Humility with messages about their behavior. Still, they do their duty to their masters without question and are highly regarded by all of the light. The Gateway is a stunning land. There are many gates, some strange structures of rock, some in beautiful lush landscapes full of vegetation and plant life. Some are in the wildernesses inhabited by animals. Which gate a person arrives through is largely determined by the traffic through the gates at the time. Entering the gates doesn't necessarily require a separation from a physical body on Earth. Earth is considered to be its own dimension. Human worlds were often treated as being on the threshold, both inside and outside of the Council's control. Still, humans often enter and work in the realms of light. They have small, well-built homes, gentle flowing pastures, and whatever work they wish to do while they are there. There are specific locations within the rings of light that are considered to be their own minor domains. Within the borders of both kindness and patience is a place called the House of Waiting. Some outside faiths call it purgatory. The House of Waiting is a single building with many wings, a slate-colored stone that forms a strange, nearly hospital-like building. In fact, it's called a hospital to many. It's a simple living where people's needs are met and they're allowed to wait and heal, whether it's waiting to be reassigned to a new location or to a new human world. The space is meant to keep a person safe from themselves. Servants from the realm of kindness often visit the House of Waiting to ensure the well-being of the souls there. Another one of these unique locations is the Palace of the Guides, which resides in the land of devotion. The Palace of the Guides is a place where many come to learn and assist others through the various rings of light. It's a grand building with many arches and hallways. The many domed skylights allow the sun to shine through the surface and light the building below. For a moment, let's discuss the Lords of Virtue and the Wanderer's visit to these realms. A few lesser lords saw the Wanderer enter through the Gateway lands. They attempted to tell him that he did not belong there. They were quite offended by the fact that he felt he had any right to speak with the council. Taking it upon themselves to try to stop him, they were among the first to fall in his raid through the rings of light. Diligence is often dressed like a wealthier common man. Many comment on his striking blue eyes and unnatural beauty, and his sun-like golden hair. He was once found working alongside the mortals, but after the Wanderer entered their land, he'd been more inclined to be found teaching and leading from his tower. When he met the Wanderer, he gave the mortal a task, and then sent him on to the realms of kindness. He had no idea what he had managed to escape. Kindness was always dressed in white robes. A woman with long hair, steel eyes, and an otherwise androgynous appearance, she tended not to care about gender. Rather, she was always studying medicine and alchemy. When the Wanderer came to her realms, she was afraid. She tried to use a potion to put the Wanderer to sleep so that the human could be moved to the safety of the House of Waiting. What had been disguised as a simple offering of a cool drink on a hot day was a trap. While the potion did have some effect on the mortal, he managed to cut the virtue to the ground before forcing her to allow him to the next realm. The potion still did not seem to fully render the human incapable of fighting. As such, the Lord Kindness was forced into a reincarnation that removed her from her power, The wanderer moved on to the lands of Patience. Patience wore simple clothing, hardly more decorated nor more beautiful than his people. He had brown hair riddled with blonde stripes. He was striking in appearance, as all angels often were. He settled into his tower, awaiting a message from his guards. When his pale green eyes set upon the human, he decided to challenge him. A set of riddles and questions, each harder than the last, were thrown at the mortal to test his worth. In this case, a test of his patience. Patience had eternity, but the mortal realized he could not continue forever and demanded passage to the next realm. Patience told him if he had no essence of the virtue of the land, he could never pass through the gates. Having seen how the other lords operated the gates, the human had a fairly good idea how to make them work. He decided if they could not be made to work, he would wait until the other lords came to face him here. Patience was ended entirely. His soul cast off into the nothingness, and the people were terrified. With no leader for the rings of patience, the people began to retreat into the house of waiting to quietly see what their assignments would be. Whether by practice or some odd twist of fate, the mortal managed to find a way to open the portal into the realms of temperance. Temperance held his head high and proudly. Long flowing gold hair nearly touched the ground as he walked. His clothing was a grand suit with silks and golden threads. Golden eyes sharply analyzed every motion the warrior made as he entered his realms. When the human asked about the Stellarium Gate, the angel was beside himself. Not only did this human kill his friend, but he had the audacity to ask about something sacred to them. After presenting the human with an option, he was taken nearly to his own death. Fear drove him to open the gate, allowing the human through. His injuries still forced a reincarnation, and the Lord Temperance was replaced by the woman whom he had once trained. The wanderer had now left the rings of light, but his impact did not. Devotion didn't appear to have a gender. The Lord used the name chastity and devotion separately depending on their mood. They were relieved to learn the human was not coming to their realms. Their slight figure and short curly blonde hair made it impossible to tell if they were male or female. It didn't really matter. The androgynous nature made their work easier. Their lack of interest in sexuality made them an impartial judge on the behaviors of others. They knew the rules, the laws, and could teach about it without inputting any of their own opinions. They taught others about the laws of love, relationships, and sexual unions. Devotion, honesty, and honor in relationships. If not working, devotion could readily be found with blue eyes scanning any of the many libraries in the realms. The Lord of Charity was a heavier set woman, not that it mattered in the least. Her maternal nature left her out helping others constantly. She was often seen feeding the people in all of the realms so that they could continue their work uninterrupted. She led her lands with a sense of purpose. Her strawberry blonde hair and green eyes were changed from the usual colors of the angels. Still, she served her duty well and often commented, had the human come, she would have made him feed the people and then let him go again. Humility was a different matter. He was stunning and knew he was stunning. He had a youthful but masculine appearance that would have allowed him to challenge the gods. However, he often dressed only a little better than the wealthiest of the common people. He reminded them that they were there to serve each other. He had said had the man come to his lands, he would teach him to be humble, whether by force or by the beauty of his words and dedication to his cause. The angel had attempted to hide the fact that he would have happily challenged the mortal and truly believed that he could have defeated him. The man had light brown hair and blue-gray eyes. His presence was strong and enduring, yet he tried not to intentionally draw attention to himself. Rather, he pointed out the beauty, strength, growth, and power of others. He appeared to be a good leader, despite the fact that in secret he struggled quite a bit with his own vanity. He could never let the others know. At least, that's what he had decided. After the fall of the others, he began to grow more arrogant. He struggled to hide it. Eventually, he even began to dress more opulently. Though for many ages he tried his best to appear to be a good and humble leader, he moved on to trying to force humility onto the people he was starting to see as beneath him, especially any humans within his realms. While not spoken of, the fallen Lord Patience was believed to be a secret lover to humility. The virtues were unwavering in their dedication to their own god and the council where he served. They tried to appear to be above the temptations of the sins they were meant to represent the answer to, saying that any flaws or breaks in their perfection was simply proof that it was a constant process of bettering themselves. With the fall of their fellow lords, the virtues retreated for a time back to the safety of the High Kingdom. There they began to discuss their options for replacing the fallen and missing lords. There were huge vacancies in their leadership. Not only higher and lower lords, there was an uncounted number of soldiers and warriors who had sought to stop the onslaught of the human, only to fall beneath his blade. When the virtues heard of the falling of the head of the council itself, silence fell over them. They listened to the reports of the many members of the council the human had exterminated. He destroyed so many in the short time the star was fighting the eternal guardian soul. In their own hall of meeting, they waited, watching one another with a growing silent horror as the names of the fallen began to come in. Nearly 2/3 of the council were gone, some with no hope of return. What had these humans become? What power did they hold? They decided that it was time to rebuild, to enhance the lands and hopefully return the power of the virtues back to the land of humans. With that decision, they sent forth a message to the members of the new order. They returned back to their duties and the restoration of anything that had been damaged in the humans' wake. They agreed they would try to gradually erase the event from history in hopes that no one ever believed their power enough to attempt this again.